Welcome to the Bookworm Duo, where we explore a variety of books. Let's get started. Today, we're really diving into the world of David McCullough. We're using his collected works, the essays and speeches in History Matters.
Yeah, it's a fantastic collection, edited by his daughter, Dory McCullough Lawson, and Mike Hill. It's sort of like a direct line into his thinking.
Exactly. And our mission today is basically to pull out the core ideas, the recurring wisdom from this master historian. We'll follow the book's flow. And we should probably start with that great story about his nickname.
Oh, right, DM Neat. It's
Okay.
such a great little behind-the-scenes detail. So his daughter, Dory, starts working with him, this is back in '92, after Truman hit big.
Uh-huh.
And when she's talking to the publicity head at Simon & Schuster, Victoria Meyer, well, they realized it was a bit awkward. Calling him your father or just David all the time in professional chats.
Right. It sounds a bit weird in that context. So they needed something professional.
Exactly. So DMEC was born. It just sounds efficient, like insider code.
And it kind of fits, doesn't it? Especially for someone whose whole process was so, well, personal and distinct.
Oh, incredibly distinct and totally analog. I mean, this was a guy who famously never worked on a computer.
It's hard to imagine now, isn't it? The book confirms that all his notes, his handwritten edits, diagrams, everything was physical paper.
Yeah, all kept in boxes. And there's that charming detail you mentioned from the outline about finding acorns and even little nests sometimes in the filing boxes.
Stored out in a New England barn, right?
Huh.
It just paints such a vivid picture of his dedication and maybe a little bit of benign neglect for the filing system itself.
Huh, maybe.
Yeah.
But you can't talk about DMEC without talking about Rosalie, his wife. She was his true north, as the book puts it.
Absolutely. Married nearly 68 years. And the book really stresses her role, her courage, actually.
Yeah, especially when he decided to quit his steady job, late 1960s, 5 kids at home.
Yeah.
And he just decides, I'm going to write history full time.
That took guts.
Yeah.
From both of them. Her support must have been everything.
No question. And that decision led to this incredible body of work. John Meacham, in the foreword, he really nails McCullough's perspective. He says, DMVC saw history as, let me get this right, an unfolding, contingent, and above all, fascinating story of people.
People driven by fear and hope. It makes sense.
And it links straight back to Truman, doesn't it? When John Gunther asked Truman what interested him most, he just said, people. Short and sweet.
That's why his books connect, I think.
Yeah.
That human element is always front and center.
And the way he told those stories, his voice, that narration, it had this real buoyancy, sometimes almost boyish enthusiasm.
Oh, definitely. Though speaking of his voice, my favorite story has to be the one about the grocery store clerk. It says so much about him.
Right. The clerk recognizes the voice from Ken Burns' The Civil War.
Yeah. And tells McCullough he suffers from insomnia, but that voice
helps him go right to sleep. It's hilarious, but also kind of perfect, isn't it? Shows a real humility. Even acclaimed work can have, let's say, unexpected uses.
Keeps you humble, for sure. Okay, so let's shift gears a bit. Part 1 of the book asks the big question, why history?
Yeah, and his 1995 remarks are key here. He argues history isn't just nice to know. It's the bedrock of real patriotism.
He frames ignoring history as rude. That's a strong word.
It is strong. His point is it's like being ungrateful. Ungrateful to everyone who came before us and built, all our great institutions.
So it's an obligation to the past. But is it just about gratitude? Why else is it so crucial?
Well, 2 main things, really. First, perspective. History gives you a sense of proportion. It reminds us, as he liked to quote Churchill, that we're not made of sugar candy.
Meaning we can handle tough times because others have.
Exactly. People have faced way worse and gotten through it. And second, it's essential for citizenship. He brings in Jefferson's warning here.
Oh, yeah, the famous one. Any nation that expects to be ignorant and free expects what never was and never will be.
Right. So for McCullough's, being informed isn't optional if you want to maintain a free society. It's basically the entrance fee.
So know your history or risk your freedom. And how do you make people want to know it?
Well, he borrowed advice from Barbara Tuchman there. Tell stories. That's the hook.
Because it tacks into those big mysteries, time and human nature.
Precisely. They're irresistible. Which brings us nicely into part 2, figures in a landscape. This is where we see the storytelling in action.
Right, using examples to show how history unfolds through effort, change, and that wild card, luck.
He starts with architecture, which he clearly loved. He mentions Robert Louis Stevenson talking about Edinburgh, all those different styles, Greek, Gothic, Egyptian, just jammed together.
Showing the past living right alongside the present.
Yeah. And then he uses big engineering projects,
Yeah.
like contrasting Brunelleschi's dome in Florence built centuries ago, we still don't quite know how, with the Golden Gate Bridge.
Built relatively quickly, 1933 to 1937.
But it's the context he adds that's so powerful. That bridge wasn't just built during the Depression.
Right, he points out what else was happening.
Exactly. Niels Bohr was splitting the atom in Copenhagen, the dawn of the nuclear age. And Wernher von Braun was messing with rockets near some German fishing village, the start of the space age.
Wow. So all these monumental shifts happening at the same time, context is everything.
It really is. And then there's luck. Pure dumb luck sometimes, like the Great Escape from Brooklyn in 1776.
Oh, this is an amazing story. Washington's army, 9,000 guys, completely trapped by the British. Looks like game over for the revolution.
Totally. And then comes this sequence of, well, miracles, basically. First layer, this freakishly strong northeast wind kicks up.
Which stops the British warships from sailing up the East River and cutting off the only escape route to Manhattan.
Bingo. Layer 2. Then, around 11 p.m., just when they need to start rowing troops across in small boats, the wind just dies down, shifts direction. Perfect for the Massachusetts sailors doing the rowing.
Okay, that's lucky. But the third layer is the clincher, isn't it?
It's unbelievable. Dawn comes, they're not all across yet, they should be sitting ducks, but this incredibly thick fog rolls in.
Just over Brooklyn, though, the New York side is clear.
Exactly. It completely hides the last troops finishing the evacuation.
Oh.
McCullough himself called it the hand of God. It's hard to argue. That luck probably saved the entire war effort.
It really underscores how unpredictable history can be. But he also looks at the other side of luck, bad luck, adversity, and how that can actually be a catalyst.
Right, like with Wilbur Wright.
Yeah, the hockey stick incident. He was this bright kid heading for Yale, gets smacked in the head, suffers this serious injury.
And it changes everything. He becomes a recluse for 3 years, just stays home.
But the house was full of books. And that forced isolation, all that reading, that's where he finds his path. He reads about birds, about Otto Lilienthal's gliders.
And it gives him a mission, as McCullough puts it. Suddenly, this terrible event, this piece of awful luck, becomes the thing that sets him on the path to inventing the airplane. It turned the worst thing into the best thing, in a way.
It's a powerful lesson about resilience, isn't it? How setbacks can sometimes redirect you in profound ways.
Absolutely. Which kind of leads us into the next sections, parts 3 and 4, which are more about the actual craft of the historian, the tools of the trade.
And his big motto here came from Louis Agassiz, the Harvard naturalist. It was tacked up over his desk.
Look at your fish.
Simple but profound. Agassiz apparently made his student, Samuel Scudder, just stare at a preserved fish for hours and hours until he truly saw it.
And for McCullough, that was the historian's job. Not always finding some totally new document, but really deeply looking at what's already there, seeing the connection.
Having that Scudder moment of sudden insight.
Yeah. And he had a classic one himself while researching Teddy Roosevelt.
Right, the asthma attacks. He's going through young TR's diary, noting when the attacks happened.
And suddenly realizes, wait a minute, these are almost all happening on Sundays, like clockwork.
And then the light bulb goes on.
Exactly. The charge of electricity, he called it. Sundays meant church. TR hated church. But if he had an asthma attack, his father wouldn't make him go to church. Instead, he'd take him out to the country.
Which TR loved. Pure heaven, he called it.
So the asthma was likely psychosomatic. A way to get out of something he hated and get something he loved. A detail everyone else missed just because they hadn't plotted it on a calendar and looked closely.
It shows how digging into tiny details can reveal huge things about human nature, human motivation. That's applicable way beyond history.
Definitely.
Now, on a more practical note, he also shared some writing advice he'd received.
From Harry Sinclair Drago, right? 4 pages a day.
Yeah, though McCullough admitted he aimed for a slightly more manageable 2 pages every night. Consistency was key.
And he did it all on that one typewriter, a Royal Standard Manual.
Bought secondhand in 1965. Used it for every single book. He loved the feel, the sound, the clack, clack, clack.
And he said the act of physically retyping was his main form of rewriting. That you hear the awkward phrases when you type them out again.
It all feeds back into his core belief, really. History is fundamentally a story. It needs that narrative drive.
Which brings us to that E.M. Forster quote he loved to use about the king and queen. Ah, yes. If I tell you that the king died and then the queen died, that's the sequence of events.
If I tell you that the king died and then the queen died of grief, that's a story. You feel that.
Exactly. That feeling, that human connection. That's what McCullough was always aiming for, making history felt.
So wrapping things up, the big takeaway from all this collected wisdom seems to be, well, the past isn't really past, is it?
Not at all. It was just somebody else's present. Vivid, confusing, full of hope and fear, just like ours. McCullough gives us a way to access that, to understand not just events, but character, human nature.
And speaking of character, there's that final provocative thought you mentioned, the line from Addison's play Cato, the one Washington and Adams quoted all the time.
Right, often without even citing it. It was so ingrained. It is not in mortals to command success.
But we'll do more, we'll deserve it.
Mm. That focus on the effort, the striving, the character you bring to the attempt, maybe that matters more than whether you actually win or lose in the end.
Deserving success, whether or not you achieve it. That feels like a very McCullough kind of wisdom to end on, the importance of the trying.
I think so. It's about the integrity of the effort itself. That's what endures.
Thanks for joining us. Subscribe for more bookish adventures and hit that like button if you enjoyed the ride. Don't forget to share the knowledge, spread the word.